detail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, there's a reason my video's off.
Shall we ask why?
Well, it's only 8:30 here.
Where are you?
I'm in Hermosa Beach, California.
No, I was gonna say, are you in Cancun?
Oh, you're so funny.
Occasionally I come out with it. Yeah, not often, but yeah.
I see nothing wrong with being in Cancun if you were living in Texas or Oklahoma, quite frankly.
I was gonna say, yeah, it has been brutal. It has been brutal.
Okay, I've started the live stream and the recording.
So behave.
All right.
I have 1029. Is that what you all have?
Mm-hmm.
Casey, I saw Turner Falls froze. Saw gorgeous pictures of it.
Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, it's been, fortunately, we have avoided any and all freeze ups here on the ranch, and we are not calving, so we are very thankful. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
So no calves in the hot tub.
No. There was a reason why Daddy went to fall calving, and now we understand completely.
Mm-hmm.
He had great wisdom.
So you guys will notice that Sandra is not with us today, but she has sent a proxy of Tiffany. You see her for our council.
So whenever Thomas did his thing, my screen, I've lost the ability to see my agenda. So I just need to, I forget how to do that, get out of full screen.
You should be able to hit escape and get out of the full screen Zoom, and then you could see any other windows that you have on your computer.
Okay, there we go. Got a little nervous there. All right, I have 1031. Is that what everyone else has?
Yep.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order and announce that all requirements of the Open Meeting Act have been met. As Thomas has already reminded everyone, we will observe the rules of decorum of a regular in-person meeting. And welcome everyone to Zoom. And if you're watching through our YouTube live stream, we welcome you as well. If we are disconnected and cannot be restored after 30 minutes, this regular meeting will be reconvened at 2:30 on Friday, February 26th via Zoom and YouTube live stream. Now I will entertain, well, have all of you been able to look at the minutes from our January meeting? And I will entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
So, second.
Sorry, who made the motion?
Motion made by Jack, second by Bruce.
Okay, and all board members will have to have their cameras on to vote.
All right, let's call the roll, please.
Bruce Benjamin,
Yes.
Michelle Stevens,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Doing
Yes.
the deals.
Casey
Do you
Kilblane,
have, yes, Annalisa sent, hey guys, Ken is trying to get on, but he doesn't have the link. Sorry to interrupt.
I believe I just sent it to him.
Look and see if you just got an email from Julie about 10 minutes ago.
Can we text it to him?
Yeah, probably.
We'll work on that. Annalisa, did you get the role?
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Annalisa is going to call you and try to get that coordinated with you so you can jump on. Okay, Seen that
Susanna
pop sign.
Gattoni,
Yes.
Marshall Snipes,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right. Okay. Consideration of a motion and vote to enter into executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B1 for the discussion of employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, resignation, or discharge of any individual, salaried public officer or employee. I'll
So
entertain
moved.
a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Casey. Who seconded
Second.
that? Bruce? Benjamin? Please call the roll.
Bruce Benjamin,
Yes.
Michelle Stevens,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Casey Kilblane,
Yes.
Susanna Gattoni,
Yes.
Marshall Snipes.
Yes. Yes.
I have a question here. When do we kill the live feed on this one and then open up the other executive session?
So you will
Yes.
leave this meeting and enter the executive session link, and this meeting will stay open. Thomas and staff will be in this room. We'll be in the executive session room.
Okay.
Then we'll come back to this.
Okay. So we should all leave.
And
this
Jude,
now?
yes. And Julie, you may have to let Ken know that we're now in the alternative
Yes.
side.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. See you all in the next room.
I think I'm here.
Casey, you're still in the main room.
Oh, guess I'm not here. Okay.
Yeah,
How
you
did I
have
do that?
to leave
Okay.
this one.
All right. I thought.
Well, I'm not having any luck getting into the executive session. Did I do something or need to do something?
Have you tried the second link?
I would try a second link if I had a second link. I only have one link.
Let me
Okay.
resend that to you, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay, Jack, I just sent that to your email.
I see some of us are back.
Michelle, I think we're still in executive session. Are you there?
No, yes, I'm here, but I think this means that's just the title.
That's
Oh,
just
is this
the
what-
slide
Yeah.
that's on the public side. So
Well, I keep leaving it. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
you're where you need to be. Looks like everyone has made it to the new room. I see
All right.
Jack, Ken Rowe, Annalisa joined during executive session.
All right, I would like to say that no actions were taken during executive session, and I am ready to entertain a motion to return to open session.
So moved.
We have the recommendation from, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Bruce Benjamin,
Yes.
Michelle Stevens,
Yes.
Jack Allen, Casey
Yes.
Kilblane,
Yes.
Susanna Gattoni,
Yes.
Ken Rowe,
Yes.
Marshall Snipes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Julie, I was actually here before executive session. I was when we opened up.
Okay, great. Super.
All right, so we'll go to agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action on a motion and vote related to the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, resignation, or discharge of any individual salaried public officer or employee. And I'll turn it over to you, Julie, for your recommendations.
Yes, so on the first item there, accountant, it is our recommendation to move forward with candidate A to authorize hiring manager, director of operations to move forward with candidate A at an offer of $55,000 annually. If candidate A is unable to accept, to move on to candidate B.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Bruce Benjamin,
Yes.
Michelle Stevens,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Casey Kilblane,
Yes.
Susanna Gattoni,
Yes.
Ken Rowe,
Yes.
Marshall Snipes.
Yes.
All right, Julie, back to you.
And the second item there regarding the employment of public information specialists, it is our recommendation to discharge the current employee of their duties. And that is our recommendation.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Bruce Benjamin,
Yes.
Michelle Stevens,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Casey Kilblane,
Yes.
Susanna Gattoni,
Yes.
Ken Rowe,
Yes.
Marshall Snipes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, now I guess is Dr. Beebe on our Zoom now?
I am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Beebe. I'll turn it over to you to talk to us a little bit about the Shape Your Future. We're excited to hear from you.
Thanks. As you know, I'm always excited to present to the board. It was about a year ago that I presented some similar results from our ongoing evaluation of Shape Your Future. And today I will update those results with more recent data. And I've also been asked to really focus in just on some key data points. You all have available the full report, which I think is 60 or 70 pages. So I'll encourage you to peruse that at your leisure. Next slide, please. Okay, and next. So our survey methods, I always, as an epidemiologist, I have to talk a little bit about methods before we jump into results. This is part of our ongoing evaluation, as I mentioned, and we do population-based surveys to try to track key benchmarks related to campaign messages. And for the Shape Your Future, our target population for this survey mirrors the target population for the campaign. We're talking to folks, to adults who have children in the home. This is a particularly challenging population to try to survey. So we do use a mixed mode approach to our survey administration, which basically means we're contacting our target population through cell phone and also using online methods. And then we have statistical methods where we can combine these data and they can provide us with reliable estimates. Our sample size for this 2020 survey was about 900 completed surveys. And then per the request of the TSET Health Communications team, we added a couple of questions about child and adult sleep because of some emerging interest in how sleep affects our overall health. And I won't talk about those unless you have some interest, and they're included at the very end of this presentation. Next slide. So the health communications team identified in their 2021 roadmap some campaign-related benchmarks and objectives. We are able to track 5 of those objectives for the Shape Your Future campaign with our health communications evaluation using these survey methods. And so this chart shows you the campaign target for some specific campaign-related knowledge and attitudes, as well as what was achieved or what was measured with our 2020 survey. So the black dot represents the target or the benchmark, the goal, and then the orange bar represents what we observed, what we measured in the survey. And so as you can see from these 5 benchmarks, the health communications strategies achieved the target for 3 of the benchmarks. And so overall awareness of the Shape Your Future program and messages was high. 49% of our sample reported awareness of the campaign messages. The benchmark was 42%. Another one that was met during this past year was Oklahomans who say that they ensure that their family fills half their plate with fruits and vegetables. So again, this is self-reported data, but about 69% of Oklahomans with children in the home reported that they do ensure that their family fills their plates, half their plates with fruits and vegetables. And this does far exceed the benchmark of about 54%. And then Oklahomans who strongly agree that they make sure their children get 60 minutes or more of physical activity a day. That campaign benchmark was also met. The 2 that were not met, if you could go back, thanks. We've got to talk about areas for improvement as well. There's a campaign benchmark related to self-perception of weight status. And so a campaign benchmark is that 17% of Oklahomans recognize or acknowledge that they are very overweight. This really is derived from observations in the data within Oklahoma as well as nationally, that self-perception around weight status, there's a mismatch. And so in Oklahoma, we have about 8%, according to these survey results, identify themselves as very overweight. But when we look at their calculated BMI, about 17% are actually in the obese category in terms of the respondents to this survey. And then Oklahomans who strongly agree that they plan to limit sugar-sweetened beverages for their family. We've seen some decay around knowledge, attitudes, and behavior related to sugar-sweetened beverages. And this, as you can see as well, we're falling short of the target there. Okay, next slide. This is showing you the trend over time for confirmed awareness of the Shape Your Future campaign. So this is the most strict definition of exposure to the campaign. We require our survey respondents to actually identify unprompted the Shape Your Future tagline or one of the slogans, or to accurately describe a Shape Your Future ad or message. Over time, we've seen a decline. In 2020, about 13% of Oklahomans could accurately describe an ad, or they were able to identify Shape Your Future unprompted. This is considered confirmed exposure. I might mention that 2016 percentage, the high of 26% in 2016, probably reflects a very high level of recall. Well, it does reflect a very high level recall of that Rethink Your Drink campaign message, which was successful in a lot of other areas as well. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about sugar-sweetened beverages. This is looking at the percent of Oklahomans who drink any sugar-sweetened beverage. So this would include soda or fruit drinks or sweet tea, the sports drinks, the sweet coffee, on one or more times per day. And we see that but prior to the launch of Shape Your Future, about 44% of Oklahomans reported drinking one or more of these beverages per day. After the launch of the campaign, we saw significant declines. And then as there has been less investment in that campaign message, we're seeing that the proportion drinking sugar-sweetened beverages is going up over time. Next slide. Similarly, in terms of knowledge about the risks associated with the sugar-sweetened beverages, we've seen declines over time in terms of the percent of Oklahomans who strongly agree that sugar-sweetened beverages are related to these health outcomes, and a decay in terms of the percent of Oklahomans who think that they can limit sugar-sweetened beverages for their family. Next slide. As you know, Shape Your Future also addresses physical activity, and two of the constructs we've been tracking over time relate to physical activity awareness, that physical activity habits learned in childhood stay with a person throughout their life. And you can see we've seen a little bit of a decay in progress in that area, not significant. And then in terms of the proportion of Oklahomans who make sure that their children get 60 minutes or more of exercise per day, which is the CDC recommendation, we're seeing that, track around a third of Oklahomans. And next. So these are just very selected results from our evaluation of the Shape Your Future campaign in fiscal year 2020, where as I mentioned, we conduct these evaluations in an ongoing manner to try to track these key constructs, these key campaign-related measures. I think that it was very helpful this past year for our evaluation team to have those targets, those metrics identified by Sana and her team. As always, as I showed, some of those are met, some of those are not met. So it's always a good idea to refresh those targets, to take a look at those targets as we're tracking the data over time. And then I think the other, key implication, there continues to be, I think, a need to address sugar-sweetened beverages in the state of Oklahoma. At one point across the nation, Oklahoma was, I think, #1 in terms of the proportion of young adults who consumed high levels of sugar-sweetened beverages. This is an area where the campaign was demonstrated to be very effective, and an area that really does contribute to obesity in the state of Oklahoma. And I won't go into the sleep data unless you have specific questions about that. I think I've probably exceeded my 5 to 7 minutes, so I'll answer questions. I'll cover the sleep data if Sana wants me to. I am at your disposal.
Thank you. Yeah, if there are questions for Dr. Beebe on this. Sleep is something that was added to Shape Your Future new this year.
I think this slide for me, so I'll just jump into it. Unless you want to stop me, Julie, you can always interrupt me.
Well, if there are questions from board members, we'd love to have the time to answer those, but I haven't seen anyone raise their hand, so they'll interrupt if they have them. So go ahead.
Dr. Benjamin?
I'm sorry. I guess it's kind of a comment / question. I was imagining me taking a survey, and on the one slide where we're talking about people being able to describe the ad, and I have a lot of recognition, so I can recognize the ad immediately. I could probably say that I've seen it, but to be able to describe it for me would be a real high threshold. Is there a category that's below that that indicates that the message is getting across, and so that those numbers could kind of be an underestimate of our ability to reach out and connect with people?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And we do recognize, and other researchers who do this kind of work recognize it is a burden to ask a respondent to describe an ad. We probe, we prompt, is there anything else you remember? And our interviewers are trained to write down verbatim anything that they say, and then we have to go through this process of coding all of those responses. And so yes, that 13% is a very strict definition because they are completely unprompted. On one of the earlier slides, I think it's 54% expressed awareness. Yeah, if you'll keep going, it's the bar chart with the targets. There you go. So
49.
awareness. 49%, thank you, yes. 49% of those sampled have awareness of the Shape Your Future messages. So this is where they've been prompted. They've been told a little bit about the campaign messages, and then they can say, oh yeah, I've seen those in the past 30 days. So probably, true levels of exposure are somewhere between those two extremes, 13% versus 49%. But this is really kind of the best practices in the evaluation of these kinds of health communications campaign in terms of how we get at self-reported exposure to the messages.
Okay, that's good. So these were measuring the ability of people to recognize that the ads were out there. In terms of a threshold for behavior change, is there some kind of thought you have about what it takes for people to actually change their behavior based on the ad?
There are data out there, and Sana might actually know off the top of her head a little better than I. There's lots of research that demonstrates these kinds of health communication campaigns have the opportunity to change behaviors. And there is a threshold, and I can find some of those key papers, some of the key CDC documents that have demonstrated in some areas how many times someone needs to be exposed to a message, how long the duration of that exposure needs to be before we can expect reasonable behavior change. In the areas of tobacco, I think we have a lot more evidence around the strength of these kinds of messages. I'll be really honest with you. Shape Your Future, these are hard behaviors that we're trying to change, or that you're trying to change. Increasing exercise, increasing fruit and vegetable consumption. We do know in terms of the theory of change that if we're able to demonstrate changes in attitudes, they will knowledge and attitudes, they will eventually lead to changes in behavior under the right circumstances.
And I do want to add that with tobacco, we've had strong policy pushes that support the knowledge and attitudes that we're trying to change. With obesity, it's such a broad range of activities, and there hasn't been strong policy pushes to support many of these changes. Some states have done density of fast food restaurants in low income areas and have seen change over time. But in Oklahoma, we don't currently have those strong policy pushes to support some of the larger behavior changes as well. So while we're really living in that education space right now, trying to change knowledge and attitudes with that has been shown over time to change behavior.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Dr. Beebe or Sana?
Thank you, Sana and Dr. Beebe. I am very surprised and shocked about the sleep deprivation of so many of our young Oklahomans. I mean, you know, the rest of us, it's no surprise, but I just felt like kids would be getting the sleep they needed. So I'm sure that'll be in some of our advertisements at some point. What I've seen so far have been great.
Yes, we are addressing sleep this year. So this is our baseline data, which will show us if we have, you know, it's going to be our first year of messaging on this, and it really is going to be changing that awareness and knowledge that your children do need more sleep than you think they do, and getting that. And remember, this is self-reported data, so it's probably even underreported. So they're probably even getting less sleep than what these baseline is showing. So it's definitely an area that is going to need a lot of work, and we will be supporting that. From this data, we also saw that our Rethink Your Drink messages really resonated. So because of that, we have created a new Power of One spot that if you'll advance the slides, Thomas.
And Sana, if you could connect, and I know Dr. Benjamin is well aware of this, the connection between sleep and overall health.
I'm sorry. Yes. Sleep is one of the factors that helps reset the body and helps your metabolism be able to function correctly over time. And therefore, sleep does have a direct impact on the amount of obesity. So that is one of the reasons why we've added sleep into the Shape Your Future program. So it's eat better, move more, drink water, get your proper amount of sleep, and live tobacco free. And so this is our new commercial that it goes into the Power of One suite that addresses Rethink Your Drink messaging a little more specifically. Rather than just drink more water, it talks about the amount of sugar in your beverages. Oops, go back a slide, yeah.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. Your health suffers when you consume too many sugary drinks each day. Sodas, sports drinks, and even juice boxes are loaded with sugar. Over time, they can lead to unwanted weight gain, obesity, and even diabetes. So try replacing one of your sugary drinks with water. And then every day, drink a little more water to replenish your mind and body. Unlock the power of one healthy change. Visit shapeyourfutureok.com, a program of TSET.
And then to support our Live Tobacco Free message, we've added this commercial.
Look at how much good comes from quitting tobacco. You save a ton of money to spend on things you really want. Your heart and lungs heal to give you more energy. You get your taste and smell back so you can really enjoy all your favorite foods. And you get more time with the ones you love. Shape your future by living tobacco-free. For free help to quit, call the Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline at 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
That was great. I guess that leads. Was there anything else on that point before we turn it back over to Dr. Beebe on Tobacco Stops With Me?
No, thank you, Michelle.
All right, thanks. All right, Dr. Beebe.
Okay, so similarly, we are tracking key metrics around the Tobacco Stops With Me campaign. And so next slide. The target population for this survey is a little easier to survey because it's a general population. We're looking at adults between the ages of 18 and 65. So the data I'll share with you today are from a random sample of adults with about a little more than 1,000 completed surveys, and all of these surveys were conducted via cellular telephones. We have new objectives that were identified again by the health communications team that we're able to track through this evaluation methodology. And then also there were new questions added to the survey around the harm from electronic vaping products. Again, I think TSET and her team, or Sana and her team, are looking at potential needs for messaging around electronic vapor products. So we have some baseline data around that as well. So somewhat different from Shape Your Future, we see this awareness of the Tobacco Stops With Me campaign at much higher levels in the population. And I think there's a good explanation for this. You know, the Tobacco Stops With Me campaign, these are very targeted messages. And so when we ask this question about general awareness, this is prompted. In 2020, we had about 80% of Oklahomans say, oh yeah, I've seen those ads in the last month. And these levels have remained relatively high over time, regardless of, you know, somewhat reduced spendings here and there. So the Tobacco Stops With Me message has really endured over time, over the campaign life, and 80% is almost as high as what we saw when the campaign was initially launched many years ago. Next slide. This stricter definition, the confirmed awareness. So similarly, we asked for an unprompted description of the campaign ads, and if they, in an unprompted way, if they volunteer the Tobacco Stops With Me tagline, then it's considered confirmed exposure, confirmed awareness. And in 2020, we saw about 19% of our population be able to just volunteer Tobacco Stops With Me or accurately describe an ad. And that's good. I think anytime a health communications campaign has around a 20% confirmed level of awareness, that's a very respectable proportion. So similarly, we have with this campaign, we have 6 different campaign related objectives and targets that we were able to measure with this survey. These first 2 relate to tobacco industry strategies. This is a relatively new line of messaging that TSET launched a couple of years ago. And so based on our survey results, we're meeting one of those objectives, but not quite meeting the other objective. About 81% of Oklahomans say that the Tobacco Stops With Me ads make me want to protect youth from the tobacco industry. And so that exceeds the benchmark of 79%. Makes me angry at the tobacco industry. We fell just short of that benchmark at 47% of Oklahomans say that the ads made them angry at the tobacco industry. And then these 4 targets or objectives relate to policy and advocacy. And so 2 of these objectives were met. Supporting a law that would make all public places smoke-free was just met, with 77% of Oklahomans saying that they would support a law that would make all of Oklahoma smoke-free public places. And then 83% say that they would support a law prohibiting smoking in vehicles with children. So those are great achievements, falling just short of working to make my community tobacco free. You know, I have some ideas on that. I think as smoking prevalence goes down, there's less awareness of tobacco as a problem. And so maybe we're falling short in terms of Oklahomans really feeling the need to work in the community to advocate for tobacco free. And then we fell just short of supporting raising the minimum age to purchase to 21. That was done at a national level, so that policy issue is not quite as relevant anymore, but you can see the survey data. And then another thing that we track over time is changes in secondhand smoke knowledge. So when Tobacco Stops With Me was launched, one of the things that we became aware of from the data, the baseline data, was a really low level of awareness of the harms of secondhand smoke. And so you can see over time, we've achieved some pretty high proportions of Oklahomans knowing that secondhand smoke causes heart disease, that secondhand smoke is very harmful to one's health. I would say that these are not really changing much over time. Causing heart disease, we've seen a slight decline over time, but nothing too alarming. I think there continues to be high levels of awareness around secondhand smoke, and it's causing heart disease. And then here we see the data around secondhand smoke and asthma, and secondhand smoke as a cause of cancer. So it's encouraging that 90% of Oklahomans know that secondhand smoke causes cancer. And then in terms of secondhand smoke causing asthma, we saw a peak in 2017 with a little bit of a decay in that proportion. And the next slide. And then these are relatively more recent data. As I mentioned, the campaign started to address the strategies of the tobacco industry. And so we started collecting data around tobacco industry tactics. And so the proportion of Oklahomans who believe that the tobacco industry lies about the dangers of smoking and engages in practices to attract new smokers, these are relatively high. 3 out of 4 Oklahomans are aware of this, and we haven't seen any declines in this. So the Tobacco Stops With Me messages around these areas were very, very effective and continue to persist. So again, similar recommendations in terms of monitoring your campaign awareness and your confirmed awareness. That there's a direct correlation with both of these measures, and the extent to which you invest in the campaign media placement for the campaign. We saw very high levels in 2020, and I think that could easily be correlated to your media placement and the investment in the media placement over that year. Since 3 of the 6 campaign benchmarks that were identified for the Tobacco Stops With Me strategic map were met in 2023 were not met, then again, taking a look at those benchmarks, making adjustments as needed, and thinking about how those benchmarks reflect the current campaign messages and how we want to measure that moving forward. Okay, are there any questions? As I mentioned, we have some new data around the harm related to electronic vapor products, but I'll entertain questions about the other data first if you'd like.
All right. If there's not any questions, see, I've lost track of where we are now. Are we ready to go to the swap up?
Well, we have some information on vaping products if the board would like to hear that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I scanned too far. Okay, very good. Is it a hard stop at noon, or do we have the Zoom past that time?
I believe we have the Zoom. I know some board members may fall off as we get closer to noon.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'll just briefly mention, so the 2 new questions that were added in 2020, and we will continue to place those on our survey, relate to the perceived harms around electronic vapor products themselves, and then the secondhand vapor related to electronic products and vaping products. And so, this pie chart, we ask respondents, relative to regular combustible cigarettes, do you believe that e-cigarettes are equally harmful, more harmful, less harmful, or don't know? And you can see that about 1/3 of Oklahomans believe that vapor products are equally harmful to regular cigarettes. About half say that they're less harmful, and about 10% believe that they are more harmful than regular cigarettes. And then on the next slide, in terms of harms related to breathing vapor from other people's e-cigarettes, other people's vapor devices, we have some interesting perceptions around this. About 29%, about 30% believe that it's not harmful at all. Another 31% believe it's somewhat harmful, 27% not very harmful, and then 4% very harmful, with about 10% not knowing. And so, yeah, so those are good data for TSET to consider as they think about messaging around the harms of electronic vapor products.
We have a lot of work to do there. And I think this is the largest danger to our youth. So yeah. Glad that we're looking at that. All right, any questions of Dr. Beebe before we move on? Okay, I guess now, thank you, Dr. Beebe. That was very informative on all of the fronts that you guys are working on, and we really appreciate that, and it helps us in our job of getting the word out about what we're doing here at TSET. All right, we will go to Swap Up Teen Obesity Prevention Campaign.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Rubinoff. I am an account director at Rescue Agency, and I'm excited to be here today to share the new teen obesity prevention campaign called Swap Up that launched last week in Oklahoma. Today, we're going to walk you through the strategic approach behind the campaign, the research we conducted to inform the campaign messaging, and then give you a peek at some of the campaign creative and what to expect from the campaign over the next several months. To begin, this campaign was created to respond to the current landscape in Oklahoma. We know that the state has the 8th highest youth obesity rate in the country, and that over 67% of adults in Oklahoma are likely to be overweight, which indicates a strong rationale for teen prevention efforts. We also know that all of these numbers are heightened in rural areas where teens have fewer food options and less access to fresh produce. So a quick review of the strategic approach we took for this campaign. First, we looked at TSET's goals and determined which ones our work needed to ladder up to. The goal of Swap Up is to contribute to achieving TSET's goals of increasing fruit and vegetable consumption among teens and decreasing soda and sugar-sweetened beverage consumption. At Rescue, we are in the business of behavior change, and what we know about behavior change campaigns is that we need to create meaningful messages that are tailored to our target audience and then hyper-target that audience through media to make sure the right people are being reached. So it's the combination of using the right media channels to disseminate compelling creative that can be engaged with and amplified by our audience. We've boiled this down to a strategy that we refer to as SAVVY, which essentially means providing one bite-sized and specific idea that is attainable, meaning within the control of the person that we're asking to change, and viable, something that they can realistically accomplish, and that if they were to accomplish it, it would be impactful or make a big difference in their health outcomes. So this means it's more than just telling them to eat healthy or explaining to them what is healthy, but really showing them how they can eat healthier. And when we really started to look at teen eating behaviors and how we could influence how they eat, we had to really consider the landscape of what influences teen food choices. What they choose to eat is, of course, influenced by their family, friends, and marketing, what's available to them in their homes and at school, and what they really have control over since they don't typically grocery shop or cook for themselves. We wanted to learn more about these influencing factors and hear from teens directly about their knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs towards food and healthy eating to help inform the campaign. So we ran an online survey back in August and September that collected data from about 400 teens ages 13 to 18 across the state. We gathered a lot of insights from these teens that we used to inform the campaign messaging, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to share a few highlights on the next few slides. When it came to beverages, only 62% of teens reported that they drank a bottle or glass of water 2 or more times per day. And 31% of teens reported drinking water less than daily in the past 7 days. And rural teens were significantly more likely than urban teens to report that they drank soda 2 or more times per day. We asked teens about the barriers that prevented them from eating fruits and vegetables, and overall, they were most likely to report that they did not eat vegetables or fruits in the past 7 days because they did not think about it or because their family did not buy it. We also tested several different facts and statements about water and eating fruits and vegetables to determine which were the most motivating. When it came to drinking water, teens were most motivated to drink more water by the statement, "Drinking plenty of water can help you feel more alert and increase brain performance." And for fruits and vegetables, teens were most motivated to eat more fruits and vegetables by the statement that obesity can negatively affect their fitness and performance in sports. So some of the key learnings that we extracted from this research to inform the creative development for Swap Up were that the campaign messaging should focus on swapping soda for water, particularly in rural markets. The campaign messaging should focus on the importance of daily fruit and vegetable consumption with sensitivity to the lack of control teens may have surrounding the food available to eat in their homes. The messaging surrounding increasing water consumption may be most effective when the benefits to energy, alertness, and brain performance are incorporated, and that the impact of nutrition on sports and performance should be integrated into campaign messaging as well. So now I'm going to pass it over to Kathleen Thomas, who's our account supervisor, who will take you through our creative development process, review the findings from our message testing, and share the final Swap Up campaign creative that went live last week.
Great. So like Ali said, we were focusing on factors that direct teenage food choices that they can control. They can't control grocery shopping or dinners at home, and expecting them to skip their social meals isn't really a realistic option. But we can get them to change what they order at those social meals, what snacks they have at school, or when they can have a gas station stop. So we needed to focus on things that they can control. And with that in mind, we wanted teens to think about what makes them feel good. We know that good food and drinks can make you think, act, and feel better. So bad foods can make you think, act, and feel worse. So this is a roadmap of the creative we're going to look at today and how we've kind of planned out the messaging packages. We made all of the concepts with some light humor involved because we know that that works really well with teens. We have a combination of messaging revolving around fruit and water and vegetables. We have different rural and urban spots for MP2 and MP3. And then this summer, we'll be doing a 1-year follow-up tracker after we finish MP2. We created all of these spots, these 5 commercials, and did storyboards for them. And we sat down with 21 teens from 11 different counties in Oklahoma to do one-on-one interviews about the perceived effectiveness of these ads. So the perceived effectiveness score is this 6-item index with the factors listed up there. And they rated each spot on a 1 to 5 scale. And a perceived effectiveness score of 3 or higher are considered to be effective and likely to stimulate thought or action among participants. So as you can see, when we did the qualitative and quantitative data for each of these concepts, they all had a score of 3 or higher. And you can refer to your notes for some quotes from the teens for each individual spot. And now Swap Up was born. We also tested logos and names, and teens chose this one. And so that's what we went with for Swap Up. The basic overview of the campaign is that we are targeting all teens in Oklahoma, both urban and rural. And while many are overweight, the majority aren't. So this is really about prevention. This is about a 60-40 split between urban and rural zip codes. And our brand approach is really just to help them understand where that gross food coma feeling is coming from, to reduce their sugar-sweetened beverage intake and increase their produce consumption. So in order to do that, we put together this multi-channel approach to deliver the messages that we've discussed already to counter the convenient eating and drinking like fast food and gas station stores. And we're making sure to use social media that is relevant and feels native to teenagers' home pages. We have radio spots that will be especially impactful for rural youth and our traditional TV spots. So speaking of traditional TV spots, this is our Fuel for Football flagship video.
I'm so tired. You're struggling, huh? You know sugary drinks slow down your game, right? And they all come with a crash that makes you feel weak. everything's harder to do. You gotta skip the sugar. Drink water instead. You'll feel faster and more energized. Much better. Now, Slushy's gotta pay.
Skip the sugar, energize with water. Learn more at swapupok.com.
So much like that video, our social media assets are trying to show teenagers how drinking water and eating fresh fruits and vegetables can make you feel, act, and think more clearly. So here are some examples of some social media assets that the teenagers would see when they're scrolling through their social media timelines. And of course, our main goal is exposure, but our secondary goal is engagement. So getting them to click through the ads to our website. So these ads allow teenagers to hear why they should think about the way that they're snacking. And once they're starting to think about that, if they click through to our website, we're going to be able to show them how they can change their habits, giving them specific ideas on what to eat. And your handouts have a full sitemap, but I'm going to walk you through it while we have the screen. So on our homepage here, you can see we start with healthy foods power you up, and we move over to unhealthy foods drag you down to try and, again, reinforce that idea of how foods are impacting the way that you're thinking and feeling. You can scroll down. Here is our Fuel for Football video. If you click play, and then you can click see the science behind why that works. So we talk about how different foods affect you, how water affects you. And then we have these little modules where you can drag the nachos to your stomach and say fried foods are full of fat and they make you feel bloated. And you can learn about the different ways that foods are impacting different parts of your body. And we have several different versions of these. These are for greasy foods. Here's for sugar. We have a soda version, our brownie, and then our little iced coffee drink. And so once we go through these, you can click through to see simple swaps, learning how good foods make you feel. They're easier for your body to process. Excuse me. You know, different ideas like raw veggies and light ranch for that satisfying crunch. And we talk about some fruits and minerals. There's also a drink section because water, as Allie went over, is just horribly underused. So we talk about how water can flush out your toxins, how it can help you stay hydrated, improving your mood, and help you concentrate. And then we have an Eat Healthier at Home section. So you can scroll through and give you tips like carrying around a reusable water bottle, putting water in front of your soda when it's in the fridge, so it's the first thing that you grab, slicing up some fruit. And we just have different tips for maybe breakfast, grabbing a banana, get a side of veggies instead of chips. Really attainable, easy things that teens can do that are within their control. And of course, then we link back to our Healthy Youth page and our social media. So that about covers Swap Up, and we are excited to see how this impacts Oklahoma youth and answer any questions you have. Thank you for listening.
And we do have Rescue Live for any questions that the board might have.
Thank you for that great presentation. I've actually seen one of those ads and I thought it was great. So I'm sure this interactive thing will be well too. What questions does the board have? When will we have a link so that we can post those Instagram interactive things and that type of thing?
We can get you that later today.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Anyone else have questions? All right, thanks to the rescue agency for that great presentation, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Bruce Benjamin,
Yes.
Michelle Stevens,
Yes.
Jack Allen, Casey
Ma'am.
Kilbling,
Yes.
Susanna Gattoni,
Yes.
Ken Rowe.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
All right. We'll see all of you later. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all.
Bye.
Have a good day.